Hey guys, welcome back to DMAC Customs on the YouTube. Dave here in the garage, bomb truck. You guys are sitting on the Area 51 project. Okay, so still going to be working on the bomb truck. Like it's that was a weird noise. I don't know quite how I made that, but oh, I've lost my whole train of thought. Okay. Marketplace 650 Holley. We're going to see whether it's any good. So we're going to fit it up, have a crack at running it, see what happens. Plus I've got to fix my exhaust cutout, so we'll do that first. So if you haven't subscribed, hit the button, notifications bell if you want to get notified. Like, share, comment, let us know what I'm doing, wrong or right. So let's get at it. Okay, so there's the unit there. As you can see, it's kind of wide open. In the past I've stripped the gearboxes on these a couple of times and that's been a problem, but that's not the case this one. When that happens, this thing flops around like a mad thing. First step, I guess, is to check this connection. That one up there, she's a bit corroded actually. I wonder if this is a simple fix of kind of cleaning it. We'll have a look. Just tried it, but it didn't close after kind of checking and seeing all that corrosion in that plug. So I'll pull that plug. I've got my little voltage tester things. Hopefully I might be able to kind of see what's going on with that if I can figure out how to test it and see, because the switch is in there and the test is going to be under here, so I don't know. Might have to use a voltmeter with longer wires on it maybe, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Start with getting these zip ties out of here so I can get a bit more cable. Yep. Yeah, it's just a little bit kind of corroded looking inside there. Oh, bloody magnet. I also want to check. That should be alright. I don't know, I wonder if I can run 12 volts to that and just check this first. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll grab a battery and just see if I can make it do something. I got this contraption hooked up to this cutout. This is my old volt, tester that I made years ago. It consists of a ballpoint pen, a couple of nails, and a light bulb, and some wire. So I'm getting power running through there, which is odd. So something might be shorted out in this cutout, so I might actually just pull that off and take it over the bench and pull it apart and see what's going on. Uh-oh. There we go. Alrighty, so she appears to be stuck. As to why, I'm not sure. Well, I can't actually remember how much movement there is in these when they're not powered up either, so she may not be stuck, but it's a good place to start as any. See if we can get this boot off. Whoa, she's a bit rusty. Wouldn't surprise me if she was stuck. Oh, I might grab that battery and we'll try putting some power onto it from here. Yeah, she's got water in there, so maybe need some WD-40 or something to free her up. She's looking a little bit wonky here too, so there could be something broken in there as well. Let's have a look. Hook up my jerry rig jumpers. Doesn't sound happy. She might just need a little bit of lubricating. Yeah, the little electric motor shouldn't be sounding like that, that's for sure. Oh well, we might pull this apart and have a look. I'll show you what these look like on the inside. Start with just unloosening that, and then these two. So I can get to this little motor. You can see in the back here, she's things are kind of coming loose there, but we'll take that off. Need another gear balance. That size. Yep. Uh-oh, that's sweet. Didn't disappear. And then there's three tiny little screws, and one of them looks a little bit loose. Yep, hang on a sec, back again. There's three little Phillips screws, and one of them looks like it's been backed out and rubbing. This one here, so I don't know whether it's just spinning, so I'd say that one's probably stripped or something. I have got a spare one of these cutouts, I think. I know I've got parts and stuff. Yeah, she looks like she definitely had a bit of water in there. It's not surprising. Come on, come on. You can do it. And this one. Oh yeah, yeah. She's had some water in there, I think. So she's really dry in here. So we'll just chuck her jumpers back on there and see what it does without the gearbox attached. Is what I meant to say. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, surprisingly the little electric motor is making most of the racket. It's all loose too. Whoop, tiny screws. All of these little screws are what I would call loose. Surprisingly. If I could do some lubricating on that, see how it goes. Feels like it wants to come apart though. They're just little squeeze tabs. Might see if we can take it apart, eh? Oh no, then we have to pull that gear off. I'll just see if I can lubricate it somehow. Toolkit in a can. 556 CRC. Advanced lubrication stops squeaks. Squeak. Stops and attacks rust. Displaces moisture. So I'm going to try and jam some of this in here. These are just the screw holes. Oh yeah, there's. Would you look at that? It stopped the squeak. How long for though, I don't know. Definitely stop the squeak, so we'll... Come see. Hopefully you can see, they're right there. Not squeaking anymore, so that's good. I think it needs a bit of a crimp because it moves around a fair bit, but the case is rusting away. If you look in there, they're just like folded over tabs. You all would have seen stuff like this before, but they don't look like they're quite folded over as much as they possibly used to be, so I'm just going to try and tighten them up this way with the gentle hammer. See, it's only half a hammer. Yeah, that's the business. Oh, I might as well do all four. In for a penny, in for a pound, so they say. Ready? Oh, I've got something sharp sticking into my hand. Yep. Okay, so I'm back. Right, I had to shoot away to replace the little lens protector on the camera. I noticed there was a crack running right through the thing, so I just swapped that over. I'd like to keep a few spare just in case that happens, because if you notice there's quite often a little lens flare on my videos. That's because there's a bit of metal stuck in the actual lens. I didn't have a protector on it, and I was grinding and I got sparks right in your eye. Anyway, I'm going to Loctite all this thing back together. Hopefully it'll hold up and work. Could be wasting my time. It might be another sort of electrical problem down the chain somewhere. Hopefully not, because I can't remember how I did all that. Got to line up all these holes the correct way. I think that's it. Glue these back in, make sure it stays tight. Just a bit of this. This is blue Loctite because I had it on the shelf. See, that one. 243. I don't really know the difference between them all, but someone out there probably does. Probably wasting my time messing with this rusty little thing, but what was next? If I misplaced something like that thing there. I really should do some lubricating in there. I might chuck some white lithium in that. Coming out. That's better. What's it doing? Oh, look, wrong piece. Sound a bit more normal. Ah, and it landed face down. Here. There we go. Next, need to line up the 3 holes in the gear. There we go. Alright, see whether these holes line up. Just chest one. Nope. Locating dowel. Ah. There is. That doesn't even look like it's going to work. It must do, because I took it apart just not 5 minutes ago. Okay, so I finished putting this back together. Got the main motor back together. Exciting stuff, I know. Still makes a little bit of grindy noises, but she'll be alright. Yeah. And one more test, make sure it does what it's supposed to do. Okay, that works on the bench. Now, does it work when it's plugged into the wiring on the truck? Hopefully that's it. Alright, we'll go and put this back on and see what happens. Right, just got it plugged in on the floor. I'm just going to hit the ignition and go for pulse it open. Is it moving? Yes! Win! And pulse it closed. Yes! Sweet, so that's all it was. It was just all dirty and loose and full of water. Rusty. But oh well, that'll get another 6 months out of that. We'll just bolt it all back on and be back. Okay, so that's that all bolted back up. One final step, as any backyard garage should be. Zip ties. Cable ties. I just got a cable tie my cables up. And yeah, she's good to go. Seagulls out there squawking. One thing of note. What's that? Uh-oh. Oh, that might be from the other stuff I had out. Yeah, surely. Yeah, everything else seems to be in there, so I don't know what that one is. I did have the box of the other bits out on the ground just before, so hopefully that's from there. Oh, sorry. One thing of note that I noted once when I was putting these cutouts in, if you don't center everything up properly, the blade can get kind of caught. You know, if you've got a lot of play in your bolt hole sizes and stuff, so it can kind of get bound up in that way. But that only happened to me once. I've played with these a bit. Yeah, like I was saying in the last video, sometimes I think they're not worth it unless you get good ones. Spend the money. Don't be like me. Don't cheap out by the cheap Amazon ones or whatever, because you end up with a box of parts like this. Okay, so because we've got all that blue smoke kind of happening on this side, I want to have a look at plugs on this side. I'm not going to worry too much about the other side at this point. What number is this? I was expecting a bit of oil around there, but that's because we've got that leak in that vicinity. Now, it doesn't look not terrible. What I'm actually looking for is oil on the electrode, I guess. We've been having, you know, kind of leaking past the valve seals and stuff. Just plug that back in so I don't muddle up my order. That's the sort of thing I would do. That one's still not bad as well, actually. Okay. Ow. Not really what I was expecting. So far, number 7 seems to be the oiliest looking one. I was kind of expecting one to be dramatically more oily around the electrodes, but that one actually doesn't look too bad. It's still got colour, you know. And number 1. And that one's probably the leanest looking one of the lot. So if anything, I'd say it was number 7 that's burning oil. That one there, much lighter. I don't know if you can see that. You can see what's going on. That one there's quite a bit lighter. So I vaguely remember when we looked at this motor, we pulled the plugs out. The guy that I bought it off, and he was going, oh, it's looking pretty good. And then we got to 1, and he was like, oh. And it's she'll be right, mate. So I was sure it was on this side as well. The motor was sitting in a little cradle, like an engine cradle, and we just pulled all the plugs, all those broken plugs that you might have seen if you remember back a few videos back, and I'm sure it was on this side. So I was thinking it was like 5 or 7, and at this stage it's really looking like it's maybe 7 that's got that leak down going on. What I'm thinking, my theory, valve seal is leaking down, and that's where we got the difference between that and that. You know, I'll pull them out side by side. Oh, I need the extension for that one. Yeah, so that's number 7 and number 1 side by side. So number 7's a little bit kind of, you know, looks like it might have been burning a bit of oil or something in there. What do you guys reckon? I reckon that's my theory anyway. And obviously we've got that oil leak, so I was expecting a bit of oil around the threads and stuff. But yeah, so that could be my cylinder that's got my issue. Hopefully that's all it is, because if that's all it is, it's a fairly easy fix apparently. Oh, that's interesting. Put them back now. Check the oil while we're here. She's dropped a little bit. She's getting quite dirty, but kind of expecting the dirtiness, and we've maybe about half a litre, so that's between all the leaking and all the burning of oil. That's probably to be expected, I guess. Okay, so yeah, as you've seen, those spark plugs, yeah, number 7, quite a bit sort of dirtier. I mean, at a glance, I kind of didn't really think it was that bad until I got down to number 1, and number 1 was kind of quite clean. So I suspect my leaky valve seal, stem seal, you know, is maybe 5 or 7, maybe both. Could be the problem. I don't know, like it could still be a ring blow by thing, but it doesn't seem to be smoky when you're kind of under acceleration and when you kind of got that, you know, the pressure up on the thing. So it seems to be more at sort of idle when it's sort of, when you first start it, it's like poof, like there's been a bit of leak down overnight, or in the time it's been sitting, if it's been idling for a bit, and then you kind of give it a blip, it's like poof, cloud of blue smoke. But it doesn't seem to be like pumping it out when you are under the acceleration and stuff. My first V8 that I ever had was an old Holden 253, and I cracked the rings in that, overheated it, heat seized it, wait for it to cool down, kept driving. I was in the middle of nowhere, so I didn't really have much choice, and I was like 17 or something, 18, somewhere around there, and had no idea either. I had less idea than I do now, put it that way. Which I don't have much ideas as it is. Ultimately that had cracked rings, and so my trip home, because I was actually coming up here, but I used to live way down the other end of the island. By the time I got home, there was just like it was like Batman's Batmobile with this big smoke screen coming out the back of it, and that was cracked rings. But it still went all right. It probably had bugger all compression, but it was still going, you know, put it that way. But that was, yeah, a big funnel of smoke coming out the back all the time with cracked rings, whereas this doesn't have it. So I'm thinking it's some kind of leak down issue. So I've got some valve seals coming. They're coming from Rock Auto, so they might be here in a week or so, and then we'll set about doing the valve seals, which is a bit of a pain, but it's, yeah, if I can get it to stop chewing through the oil, smoking oil and leaking more than anything, this will be a pretty sweet motor, because it's actually going, I think, pretty good. So for basically a cheap mystery motor. So but she is overcarbed. That's why we want to look at this unit over here, which is, as I said in the last video, I picked this up on Marketplace. So it's a 7002-1, which is basically a 650 spread bore kind of Rochester replacement carb. By all accounts, they're apparently quite good. I don't know. I don't really know much about Holleys, other than a lot of people really like them. First inspection, these are the float bowl adjusters, correct? I've been doing some googling and even printed some stuff out, so I've got it on hand. And these have been kind of glued up, so and same with whatever goes under there. I don't know what that's about, so I don't know what to do about that, whether, you know, to kind of leave well enough alone. He said it was running on a small block 350, and he said it went alright, so I don't know, but I didn't ask him how long ago that was either. I don't know why it's got, that's like an oil pressure fitting, but that's just vacuum, I think, according to what I've been looking up. And then we've got the PCV vacuum. That's a vacuum advance for the distributor apparently, and then we've got a couple other vacuum ports down the bottom here. But yeah, and it looks like this has been welded on, which I think is going to interfere with my TV bracket for the 700R4, so I might have to do some modificating on that. But it doesn't appear to be full of dust or anything, so I might take it off this manifold and just have a look a bit closer. Okay, so if you look closely, this is bolted down on the manifold with cap screws, so without taking the bowls off, I can't get to them with an Allen key, so I'm going to try it with some vice grips, see if I can get them going that way. Oh yeah, she's loose. Sweet. Yeah, that one's kind of loose as well. Might be able to angle an Allen key in there if they're loose. An undersized Allen key will work. Nearly there. It's incredibly awkward. Yes. Gasket doesn't look too bad. Intake's got potential. It has been welded on down here. Looks like it's split down here, so it's been welded up at some point. Either that it's problematic, I don't know. Can't see any cracks going all the way through on the inside, but I don't know whether you guys can see in there. Might have just broken the corner off it. Left side, see if we can get these bolts out. Yep. No, damn it. Yep. That one. Will that go out? Don't think I'm going to be able to get that one out without taking all that side of the bowl off. What a pain in the ass. Anyway, let's have a look underneath. See? Looks like that. It's relatively clean. Those throttle blades are a little bit corroded looking, but doesn't seem to be any play in there, so that looks good. Not that I can see anyway. Oh well. But I got that bolt out, just took a little bit of brute strength and ignorance. I didn't want to show that on camera because I just, it will look like a cowboy. Just take that off, might pull that out and whatnot. So that's, looking at this, oh, it's stamped on the base there too, see, 7002-1. Oh, I didn't know that. Always, they generally seem to be stamped up there on top of the thing. But yeah, it's actually got a stamping right there too, which is the model number. And apparently that's in the same family as the 4175 Holleys, from what I could do get from my interneting yesterday. So that's PCV vacuum, which is full manifold vacuum. This bottom one here is full vacuum, full manifold. And so is the one on the back there, which is, you know, brake booster type stuff. Which is, I don't know what they would have had hooked up to that, because that's really little. Anyway, this one's slightly higher. That might be timed vacuum, I'm not sure. That might be more in the same family as that. Interesting. Yeah, I was doing some Googling last night, trying to figure out what all the vacuum ports were for, and from what I can gather, this goes to your vacuum advance, this is your normal PCV. These two here were the mystery ones here. That one there seemed pretty straightforward as to why it's got that little fitting in there, I'm not sure. But yeah, those two were the ones I was trying to figure out which one I would need for my 700R transmission. And I think it'll be, I can't remember whether it's on full vacuum or ported vacuum. I'll have to double check how it's set up at the moment. I know I've spent way too much time investigating that in the past and learn it, and it goes, it disappears. It used to be in my brain and I can't remember it anymore. So vacuum secondary makes fluffy noises. Am I supposed to do that? Sounds like the diaphragm's working, so hopefully the accelerator pump's all good. It's got mixture screws, yeah. So we'll have to figure out a choke thing, whether to tie it off, tie it open, or whether to hook it up with a cable or something. But there's no bracketry on this for the cable to attach to. So I'll probably just tie it off for the meantime, so I know whether it's any good or not. 7/16, I'll take that out because I don't think we'll be using it. I have to get another thingy bob for that. Little NTP fitting. It just looks awful wee, and it's got a tiny little wee hole. This is like an oil pressure sender thing. I don't know why that's in there. And it's pretty much blocked as well. So, interesting. Let's come over here into the small parts drawer. That was on a Holley. And that's all Holley. Well, some of it's Holley stuff. That was all on when I bought the 383, well, some of it's there, some of it's there, that had a 650 double pumper on it. Again, I didn't know nothing about Holleys, and it overran something fierce one time. I couldn't get it to shut off, and it was sucking vacuum and burning carbon and all. It was doing all sorts of weird shit anyway. So being that I knew nothing about Holleys then, and still don't now, I had the Edelbrock 750 sitting in a box that had only had about 2,000 miles on it, because it used to be on my 383 big block Chrysler 383 Commando, and I swapped it out off the Chrysler and put a 650 Thunder Series on that, and actually went heaps better with that. So I had this new 750 Edelbrock, virtually new, sitting in a box. So I put that on the truck and then spent ages trying to dial in the transmission with the linkages and shit, and then realised you needed a special adapter. So that's why I've got the old Holley 700R adaptery stuff still sitting here. So I want to have a look and see I can't remember how it all bolts up is the only thing, and then with this thing here being welded on here, I may have to cut that and drill it and stuff like that just to get it all in the right place. So I'll sit down and I'll read my paperwork and see what I can figure out. This is the unit here, the main part, which is for the, it's got some extra holes drilled in it. That was me trying to modify it for the 700R or the Edelbrock. I can't remember how that was on there, or whether it even is needed. But anyway, so let's turn this camera around. So that's the front, that's the back. According to the pictures, it has to go like that, I think. Or does it go? Maybe that. Well, that was there. Bolts. Looking at that, it's kind of like similar. That's got this big piece out the front here. Looks like it was probably, the return spring was probably hooked up to that. Can see a little witness mark there. So I can probably take that off. And then I might have to do some cutting and grinding and drilling, because I'm pretty sure that has to go in there, like so. Take this off and that off. We'll have a look. Pull that off. Yep. That came off nice and easy. This is not the best bench for doing this sort of thing on. Half inch. Yep. Oh, need another half inch. One of these. It's been on there since it was new by the looks of things. It doesn't line up with that hole actually, so if it does line up with that one, don't know whether this is the right part. It looks different. And this bit that I just took off, that looks suspiciously like one of those. That actually doesn't need, maybe it doesn't actually need, pretty much in the position that the adapter piece kind of would put it at if it looked like the picture. Okay, so my handy dandy paperwork. Wish I'd actually looked at this a bit closer before I pulled this apart, but it's not a big deal. This is for the mounting the TV cable and stuff, and I found this stuff online from a, I think it was a TCI, and it talks about this here, this measurement here, that from the throttle shaft center line is 1.109, give or take 0.016 of an inch, which works out to be about 28 millimeters, 28.17 to be exact. Now, which I've set my verniers to, and that's the center of my throttle shaft. There, and so I think this is designed for an overdrive transmission, a 700R4, so I don't need that. Know what I'm saying? My cable will go onto that. So I could put that back on, and then I could maybe reroute my return spring if need be. Or I could just bolt that on there. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, I think I don't actually need that. So this whole part of the video has been pretty much a waste of time, other than learning maybe that this carburetor is actually already set up for an overdrive trans. Fascinating. Being that it is a replacement for a Rochester, I'm not sure what the year of this is. So this could even be 80s. So set up to go on, you know, the early overdrive trans vehicles, 80s C10s, trucks, vans, C20s, that kind of stuff. So yeah, in theory, it's the kind of the perfect carburetor for that motor. Possibly, maybe. Apparently they're quite good. Some people really like them. Yep. Put that back on. Over there. What I wouldn't mind trying to figure out is, where's that paperwork? Well, that degree there, 78 degrees. So, see if I've got some kind of protractor measuring device, see if I can work that out. So, I've got a plan, kind of, sort of, just to try and confirm my 78 degree rotation of that shaft. So, turn that on. See if I can get it to stay there, 0. So now, hopefully this magnet holds it. $77. Is it 0 back again? Almost. So, if I'm thinking correctly, the fact that that whole shaft rotates 77 degrees means that any point on it is moving 77 degrees. Does that make sense? You reckon? I don't know. Did you see that? So like, no, 0 out again. 0. 0. God, it never wants to 0 completely. Get it. Yeah, so that completely zeroed out. So rotating the shaft, how much does this shaft rotate? $77.35, so that's almost 78 degrees. So, by my logic, anywhere on this thing, on this shaft, so 0 there, by the time I go to full throttle, maybe not, so that's going 70 degrees. Maybe my logic is flawed. Try again, do some confirmation checks. That's kind of pretty much zeroed out. So full throttle, so that's only 70 degrees, 69 degrees. Well, that messes up my theory, doesn't it? It's 76. How can I get a reading from that point at 1.1 something or other inches away from the hooflungy for the Watts it? I liked it better when it was getting a reading from there. What about if I do it from there? I'm not going to hit the vice. That's enough. So it comes back at 75.9. Damn it. The distance is right, the ratio is wrong, the degrees is wrong according to that. Okay, so I've been doing some mathematics, you know, and not my strong suit, but bear with me. Okay, like I was trying to measure the throw, that kind of 78 degree rotation that you have to have 1.109 inches from the center of the throttle shaft. I couldn't kind of get it an accurate point off where my TV cable is potentially going to hook up to, you know. The distance between the center of the throttle shaft and the center of the TV cable mount is bang on-ish. But what I couldn't work out is how to kind of work out that distance there. So I got my old school protractor out and I drew 78 degree angle on here based on that radius of 1.109 inches. So that's that from the center to that arc there, and then I got my old compass and measured that distance from there. So that essentially is my travel distance of my TV cable. And so from there, now this is pretty rinky dink because like I just you know, haven't got proper equipment and stuff, but I'm not going to blame it on that. But so this is where I'm I'm trying not to move it. I really should mount it on something. How could I do that? And that way it's sort of set still. But I mean that, it looks like it's, am I moving? Am I wishful thinking it? Did I just bang that? I did. I opened it up some. So what I really need to do is mount this on something so it kind of, I can't move my hand. Yeah, see, I keep moving. I reckon we're about right. It's a little bit short of that distance, just the tiniest bit. Is that enough to destroy a 700R4? The reason I'm freaking out, you know, like kind of wanting to confirm this so much is that 700R4 transmissions are notorious for grenading themselves if they aren't, the TV cable isn't set properly and whatnot, you know. I went through all of this when I switched over from the double pumper to the 750 on the 383, and fortunately, you know, 6-7 years later or whatever, it's still going. So we've been either lucky or I got it sussed back then, but now I'm, you know, second guessing all of that sort of stuff. It took me a while to kind of get it right, and I didn't put too many miles or anything on it at that point, but I think that should work with the 700R. I think that's what it's designed for. It just seems to be right, but we could only try it, I guess. It's only a transmission, blowing the motor up. What's a gearbox? The adapter that I just put in there, that might be specific to like the double pumper Holley rather than, you know, just a normal any old Holley. I didn't actually check that out when I was doing all my googling last night, so don't know. We might just try it, see what it does. Okay, so I'm just going to try and I'm going to throw this on the truck and see what happens, you know. Like, smart money would be re-kit it and all that kind of stuff, but this is DMAC Customs, they ain't always that smart, so I'm just going to give it a try. Hopefully it's not all full of crap and stuff. I could actually fire up the compressor and blow it around, but might do that. Yeah, I will. Well, that bit of threaded rod fit in that car. That's the other thing. Don't know that it will. It does. Cool. Alright. Disconnecting some stuff. We'll need disconnect the fuel, new vacuums, PCB. That's a bit loose on there actually. And that one is, that's my trans vacuum advance. Disconnect that. I'm not quite sure how I'll hook the throttle up on the new old carb. just goes at that, and then we should be good to unbolt it, 1/2 inch. After all that farting around getting the right hardware for this the other week, now I'm taking it off again. But we'll have it on the shelf for a later date. I'm just doing a little bit more reading on this 7002-1 Holley carb. And it seems they were a kind of direct replacement for a quadrajet, so they're kind of set up a little bit lean, and apparently the spring's really stiff on the secondary, so they hardly ever open fully, but we'll see what it's like anyway. So that gasket's still alright. Wow, oh, we haven't got studs, have we? What am I going to do about that? Okay, so found some 5/16 threaded rod, which I think is the right size for this. 5/16 bolt fit in there, so this threaded rod's been used for a variety of different things over the years, so it's a bit munty, but it'll work. I just got to figure out how long to cut them, so I've got to do some measuring. They go right into that one goes right into the abyss. So I'll base it on these ones. And there, so we want about 20 millimeters for that. So we need about that. About 20 mil sticking out of there, going into the manifold. And then we want about that much coming up out of the top. So if we cut them in all about 2 inches, we should be alright, I reckon. Yep. There we go, studs. Oh, geez, I'm going to drop that down in the hole. Paying attention, pay attention. That one ended up being about 2 inches. The other three I ended up having to cut about that much off them because I made them too long. So, yeah. We'll use this gasket because it looks to be in reasonable condition. Make sure it wants to clear that though. She's pretty close to that port there. We'll check the carb when it goes on. That's right, I've got to take that vacuum port off the back of the Edelbrock. Putting this in the back of here, this is actually a part that I bought for the Area 51 project, but wrong size. I'm just borrowing it for the bomb truck. It's just for the brake booster. I'd rather have brakes. Area 51 don't need them just yet. Can fly. I think. What's rattling? Oh, float bolts. They move, so that's a good sign. I can put that on there. Okay. She's on there. Sorry, reenactment. Yeah, I've tied that choke back too. That would fit on there nicely if that was trimmed and that was threaded. Know what I'm saying? See what I was going on with? I was just having a look at this bracketry for the stuff. And that's come out of its place. So that fit on there quite nicely, but it's too close to the bolt hole. And I can just trim that. There's a pen. Trim that out of there. That'll bolt down with the normal bolts. Okay, so that's that trimmed down. I can probably bolt that all down now actually. This is trickier than I was expecting. Where's the spanner? Okay, yeah, so we're going now. What paint. That all bolted down. There's not a lot of room to bolt these Holley carbureting machines down there, is there? It's a bit odd. So I think that's going to need readjusting. I'm going to hook that up. I can't even remember how to do that. I'll leave that loose for now. I'll figure out how to reset that in a minute. All in here, hopefully. There's a big blob of weld on the back of that too. Didn't see that before. Okay, so pretty much everything's plugged in, plumbed in. TV cable I'm not sure on. I think this might need to slide further forward. I've readjusted the accelerator cable, and you know that does its accelerating thing. And this, when I try to let it do its own clickety clack thing, it just ends up too far, and this shoots right out, and we end up with nothing. So all I've got left to do is hook up the fuel, but this fuel pipe that's on here comes close to my leaning tower of cooling, so I might look at putting a bit more of a bend or something in this if I can. Did I kink it? I think I did. So I'll take that off now. So I need to find a big spanner that'll fit that. Maybe one of these. 3/4. Oh, that's way too big. Dreaming, mate. You're dreaming. It might just be an old school 5/8. Yeah. Ow. And of course now that whole thing wants to come undone. That's not what I wanted. Oh, hang on. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this, man? So if I try to unscrew that from there, it's just going to hit the body and then hit everything else as well. Yeah. There's my filter. Gotcha. What do we got here? Inverted double flare trick, eh? Now, have I got any fuel line? Don't know whether this is going to work. Yeah, I know this is pretty rude, but I haven't got any more steel line. I've got equipment to make flares and things like that, but I haven't got the line that I need. Stuff I've got's too small. I just want to cut it and make a little bubble on the end of it, you see, that's all. Will this work? I don't know. I can get that clamp in there, and then I might be able to get me a bubble. Might just work. Might just not. So might. Should just pushed it out. Try there. That might be enough. Just a little bit of something on that hose. Yeah, there it does. It's just to stop the hose sliding back off. But that'll do us. Yeah, I know. She's not pretty, but it'll work. Maybe. I might need to smooth that off a bit. I just kind of ground that off a little bit on the old flapper, just to sort of make it not quite so steep, but still have a bulge on the end. Hopefully the hose will go on there now. Yep, come on. You can do it. Yeah, that's the way. I'll have to check that for leaks in a minute. Is that alright like that? It's not rubbing on nothing. Close. Don't like it. Should really make a new steel line that goes all the way from the pump up. Might just tie this off with a zip tie for now, just to keep that away from spinning stuff. Yeah, that'll just keep it tucked in there nicely. It's a bit of a loop. I could cut it down, but I don't want to. Alright, I think we're pretty much ready to go on this, so I'll give it a kick in the guts and see whether she wants to go. I need a screwdriver handy. Again. Okay, we've got leaks. Typically pumping. She's pumping too much. Here's a whacker. What do you reckon? Too rich or what? Smell the gas, it's pouring out all over the place. It makes it go bang, but in a bad way. We've got fuel pouring out all over the place. It just doesn't want to go. I think there's probably sticking stuff in here. I think it's probably sat on a shelf long enough that it needs, it needs a going through, which is a bit of a shame. It would have been nice just to throw it on and away we go, but with the amount of fuel that's leaking out of the, well, yeah, it's pouring out underneath there, we won't continue with this. So that was a big fat waste of time, but kind of not. Gives me something to do and gives me, a bit of a learning exercise. But yeah, I'm gonna now just reverse everything that I just did this morning and whatnot, and put my Edelbrock back on there because it was going okay with that, and maybe look into getting a kit for this 650 and getting it rebuilt. Yeah, so oh well, yeah, live and learn. So now we've just got to take all that off again, put it all aside, and put all that back on again. Yep, cool. Well guys, she's back together. Took me about 15 minutes to get the old better stuff back on and run it up. I've just been up and down the road a few times just sorting out that TV cable, getting the shifts where I think they should be. I cannot do the whole auto click thing. My one just shoots out and doesn't want to do it. But yeah, so ultimately my Marketplace 650 Holley is a leaky thing. I don't know whether you noticed, but the intake was full of gas when I took this thing off. So obviously the needling seats are just stuck and it's just pumping gas into the intake. This is getting heavy. So I'm going to put it over here. But yeah, so back to where I started, but my cutout's fixed. But it also tells me that I do need to do some work on that Holley if I want to use it. I think it's worth using. There's elements about it that seem to be fairly tight. Not sure about those adjuster screws being missing for the float levels and things like that though, whether there's some that come out with a sort of like locked solid and you can't do much with them or what. I don't know. I'll look into getting a kit for this and see where we go from there, see what comes in that as to what all gets replaced on it, sort of thing. But like I've said earlier, I'm no carburetor expert and I've never really been inside Holley stuff. I've been inside Triumph motorcycle stuff and pulled those down, cleaned them, tuned them, all that kind of stuff. But a Mark II ammo was a little bit less complex than a 4-barrel carburetor. So yeah, so that's where we're at, kind of back to square one. She does go quite good. That smoke and the rattle is still there. The smoke, like I said earlier, I think is a valve seal or valve guide or some valvey type thing. I don't think it's rings, just because it's not there when you kind of give it some jandle. That's my only logic behind that. It could be denial. Highly likely it's denial, not just a river in Egypt as they say. But yeah, other than that, it actually goes okay. I still have no idea what that rattle is. It seems to come and go. It could be something to do with rockers and that still. Like when I have a look at these valve guides, I'll go back through all the rockers and make sure they're all set proper like and make sure there's no bent rods or anything like that. But for now, we'll leave it as it sits, okay? We're not going to be taking it apart again just for shits and giggles. We'll wait until some parts come in and then we'll hook into it. If they come in this week, next video might be on this. If they don't, we might do something on this. Oh, here. On that, see? the old Limpy McLimp over there, because old Flatty McFlat's just, she's cooked now, but I'm going to chuck those other red rims on there because they hold air for a start. And yeah, then I don't know what we're going to do next on this actually. It's at the point where I need to start going around the body again and making sure things are straightish enough for my liking and start chasing pinholes and stuff like that, which is, I've kind of been putting it off, to be fair. It's kind of like a lot of sanding and looking and stuff, but it's going to have to be done. And then I'm looking forward to getting it into its next stage, and then we're going to have a whole bunch of cleaning up brackets and painting little bits and bobs and bolting it all back on. I've got to tear down the front grille and everything like that, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, so that's it for today. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting the channel. Means a lot. It's kind of quite exciting as the channel's kind of grown, and in some ways I've kind of grown with it. I think I've got a little bit easier talking to myself in front of the camera, except for when the neighbours walk past and I just kind of lock up and get all self-conscious and embarrassed, and here I am putting it on the internet for all the world to see if they so choose to. But yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook. If you're on those platforms, go over and sort of like, share and stuff. Mostly just spamming you guys, letting you know there's a video coming out. At this point, you know, as the channel grows, we might use it for, you know, pushing out other information that might be useful to you. You know what I'm saying? What was that noise? So, anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Until next time, take it easy and peace. We didn't do any damage that we can't undo. Okay.